Hello everybody, my name is Nick. You probably know me better as Hello Insomnia, and today I want to tell you about Uscripter. Uscripter is a tool I built to not only save you time and headaches, but ultimately to be a U-botter's best friend. Uscripter has already many features to aid you in U-botting, which I'll demonstrate today, and going forward, I hope to grow Uscripter into the most versatile and useful tool for U-bot. I'll show you a brief overview of the software, and then we can dive in a bit deeper into each individual section. So when you first open Uscripter, you're going to be on this code view tab. You can open a U-bot file, and you'll be able to see the different tabs. You'll also be able to see some other information such as the line count, your total tab and line count, your U-bot file, and more. We'll do a demonstration of that after we go over some of the other modules. We have the clear data module. This will read all of your variables, lists, and tables inside of your U-bot file, and it will allow you to choose which ones you want to be cleared. It will then automatically create the code for you so that you can simply copy it into U-bot Studio. And again, we'll go over all of this a bit more in just a minute. We have the generator tab, and right now all we have is a settings generator, but as you can see there's this little tab here, and that's because we have more generators planned in the future, but for now the first one is going to be the settings generator. So for the settings generator, you will be able to choose which variables you want to wire up to an INI settings file. And this will allow you to quickly and easily be able to generate the save settings and the load settings custom commands. And if that doesn't make any sense, don't worry, I will show you an example. We have the converter tab, also have more converters planned right now. But for now, the first one we have is a U-bot UI to HTML converter. So this will actually be able to read in like the UI text box, block text, every single relevant UI command that there is, and it will be able to convert it into an HTML template for you so that you can quickly and easily move from a U-bot UI interface into a custom HTML interface. Finally, we have scope swap. This is to either swap or to ensure that you're using the correct scope. And this is really useful if you want to be able to take something out of a program and test it real quick and see what all the variables are. You're going to need to switch everything to be global, and then when you put it back, you're going to want to make sure everything is local. So this is a very quick, easy way just to be sure that one, it's done correctly, and two, you don't have to do it manually, which is annoying and it takes time. So if you haven't noticed, most of the modules are currently based around things that take a lot of time to do manually and are very annoying. So ultimately this is built to save you time. But moving forward, I also want to make it something that is just an all-around useful tool. So one more little thing I'm going to show you. If you hit Control E, it brings up a search, and you can type in here your question or anything you want and hit enter, and it will pull up a browser with site ubotstudio.com/forum and your question, whatever you type in here. And if you click on this button, it will pull up the wiki as well. So you can demonstrate that. Actually, let me type in something that is relevant, because the way that it searches wiki is it will pull up a wiki page if it exists. And let's just pull that over there real quick. Okay, so as you can see, it pulled up the plugin development page as well as this search. So it's a really quick and easy way to search, and all you do is hit Control E. Anyway, moving on, let's look at the actual module. So I'm going to open up a file, and I'm going to open up a recent version of Traffic Titan. And as you can see, it immediately jumps to this code view. And in this code view, we can see each of the tabs, all of the code inside of that tab. We can see the line count here change as we click on the different tabs. So we can tell how many lines are in each tab. Down at the bottom here, we can see the total number of tabs on any page. We can also see the total number of lines. To the right here, we have the file name, and if we click on this folder icon, it will quickly bring up the folder that the file is located in. So code view is mostly for viewing your code, being able to quickly copy something that you want out of it. And also, if you click this copy button, it will copy the code in that tab. So if I wanted to copy the settings and over here for some reason paste them, as you can see, it's as easy as clicking this button. So let's just use this file for an example for a little while. I'm over here in the clear data tab, and as you can see, I have a ton of variables and a decent number of lists. I don't have any tables in this particular file, but going through this file and choosing which variables to clear would be kind of a nightmare. And if you pretend this is a file, we could have a GUI here, and let's just make a fake GUI real quick. Let's just call this email, and we'll type email, Gmail. Now, ubot has a built-in function called clear all data, but for a lot of reasons, it doesn't really work very well, because if you had a GUI and the user put in all this information and you were to run this actually should clear that out. And I believe it did. If I refresh, yes. So we just needed to refresh, but it had actually cleared the email variable, because what clear all data does is it clears everything. So that's not very helpful. Typically what you want to do is you want to clear specific settings or variables, lists, and tables. So what you can do is you can click and choose, I want this one, this one, this one, or maybe you pretty much want all of them except for like these couple. So you can do that, and it's going to create this code for you automatically. We can come over to the list, we can do the same thing. We can do that, or perhaps we want to do all of them except for a few. It automatically creates the code. You hit the copy button, you come into ubot, and as you can see, it creates all the necessary code as well as dividers and comments so that you can easily see what's going on inside of the code. So it creates this divider, and this comment says, here we're clearing our variables, and eventually here we're clearing our lists, and if we had tables inside of this file, it's the same thing. It creates a divider, a comment, and it allows you to quickly and easily do that to clear the tables. Moving on to the generator. Now, this previous tab was somebody came to me about a year ago and said, I will literally give you money if you create something like this. But I wanted to create something that had a lot more stuff in it, obviously, not just that. So later, one of the biggest pains that I experienced was creating a program for somebody that had about 50 or so settings. For every single one of those settings, I had to, in ubot, manually do this process. And first I'll show you what this does, and then I'll show you very briefly, because it is painful, the manual process. So this is going to pull all of the variables inside of your file, and then it's going to highlight the variables which occur inside of a GUI. So this could be the ubot UI, or this could be a custom HTML UI. It'll be able to read the variables off of either. And the reason being is most of the time your settings are going to be only your UI variables. So it's going to highlight those with this different background color so that I can do something like, say I want to set the weight variables here in a section. I can type weight. I could set my weight min. When I click it, it automatically sets the key name to be the key value without the hashtag. So the key value is going to be your variable. So you don't really ever want to change this. Your key name you could change, but typically you don't want to. There's no point to change this. So you might as well just leave it. And you can just hit add, and it leaves the section name so that you can go on to the next one until you want to change the section. Maybe I want to change the pages now. So I just do that. I hit min, add, max, add, and that's enough for now. So let's just copy that, come back into UBot, and it automatically creates all of the code that we need, including the custom defines, and it also adds in the settings file as well as an alert down here. So all you need to do is have, and you would already have these set, by the way, so I'm just going to show you an example of how it works, but typically in a program these would already be wired up, so you wouldn't have to necessarily do this extra part that I'm doing. Well, you would at some point, but you wouldn't have to do it right now. So I'm going to set these different values, and I'm going to create a settings file. So to do that, I'm going to open up Uscripter again, and I'm just going to click on this folder icon, and it's going to bring up my working folder, which is nice. So I can create a new text document. I can do settings.ini. Yes. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift right click. That allows me to pull up this option, copy as path. We're going to set our settings file to be that. It puts the path in quotes, so I'm going to get rid of those. Now all I have to do is hit is call this save settings, and that's it. And our settings are saved. And if we find our folder again and we look, we can see that our settings are set. Okay, fine. Let's say that we want to clear everything. We have to reset our settings file because it will be cleared. In fact, I'll run this, and that was weight. You can see the weight min and max are gone. Now let's call load settings, which was automatically created by Uscripter. Hit run, and our variables are set, as you can see, and the pages, of course, would be set as well. So in order to do that manually, you would have to, I will just do one very briefly because it is very painful. You would have to create the, define save settings, and then you would have to do ini write. You would have to choose the section name, weight minimum, and then weight minimum. But then for every write, you have to do a read. So that means you have to also do this. You have to choose this. You have to do read. You have to copy. It's like a 10-step process or something. I didn't count, but it's a several-step process. And after you do about 10 of those in a row, you are sick of it and you never want to do it again. So this makes it super quick and easy by allowing you to just be able to choose and to then basically click add if it's already set up. So once again, the highlighted variables are going to be your UI variables, and then the rest are not. So typically you're only going to be wanting to work with the highlighted variables, but I left the rest in there in case there's a reason that you need them. Alright, so let's talk about the converter. I'm actually going to change files now. So let's open up an old version of Traffic Titan. When I start creating programs, I never start off with a HTML user interface. I'm always starting with a UBot interface. It makes it a lot quicker and easier. Sometimes you need to add things, you need to delete things. You don't want to be creating a complicated interface. You always want to start with the UBot interface. So I'm in the main tab here, and this is going to have some UI properties here that we can see. So I'm just going to hit copy, and I'm going to come back over to the converter, and I'm going to paste that code in. Now I'm going to hit the convert button, and as you can see, it doesn't look like HTML code, and that's because it's not yet. The reason being is I wanted to create a system that allowed you to easily visualize what is going on, because there's going to be more stuff here in the future. So this is already planned out, and it will be implemented in an update sometime in the future. But for now, it allows you to visually see basically, all right, that's a block text, and it's the block text for the variable seed URLs. That's a drop down, and that way later when there's more properties here, you'll be able to select something and change certain properties. But I don't want to get into that yet. That's for a later time. For now, when you hit the copy, it will actually convert it all into HTML code. So as you can see, this had quite a lot of drop down stuff going on, which is going to create a lot of lines, but it's going to create even like your input button with, and this one has save settings and load settings already. So why don't we get rid of this? We are going to do a UI HTML panel, and I haven't actually tested this or anything, so I think it's the same save settings and load settings. I'm just gonna hit save settings. Yeah, so settings are saved. So as you can see, it will read in your UBot UI, which if we pull this back up, let's actually take a look at the UBot UI so we can compare here. Okay, yeah, I didn't think about this. This might not work because of plugins, but let's just see what happens. So yeah, so we have our various things like our save settings, our load settings, our drop downs, and our seed URLs and such. And so this creates it all into HTML. It's not styled or anything yet, but just converting the code from a UI in UBot to HTML is a pain in the butt, and it can take you sometimes an hour or more, depending on how many UI elements you have, just to do the conversion. That's before styling, that's before everything. Now I know there's some other UI solutions out there, so some of you may use those, and that's totally fine. But for those who want to create a custom UI, you're going to have to go through this conversion process every single time. And so that is definitely not fun. Alright, so we talked about everything so far except for scope swap. And for this, I will just open up something, and scope is always going to be related to your variables and your list. So let's just do a variable and a list to show you an example, because that's all that's really relevant here. So we're going to set my variable, because I can't think of a better name, new value. This is my, alright, and let's do a add list to list, I guess. Oops. Add list to list. The list scope is global. The variable scope is global. List, other list. Okay. So we can see that they're both global. And we can input those into here. And as you can see, it makes them local. We hit copy, we put it back, and now they're both local. Now, you may be thinking, well, that's not very useful, but actually it's quite useful if you already have programs which have, like, say, a custom command, and everything in there is local, and it has to be local or something's going to get screwed up. But you need to test something, so you need to see what's going on. So you have to pull out the local variables and put them into here, and you can switch them to global variables. Now when you put it into, say, another instance of Studio, of Ubot Studio to test, when you run this, you'll be able to see what's going on. You'll be able to see your variables. You can fix whatever you need to fix, and then when you're done, you just switch it back to local and you can put it back again. Another good thing is that sometimes, maybe you went through and you switched a bunch and you're just not sure what's going on. Well, instead of doing it manually like that, you can ensure things are either local or global. So for example, let's say that I wanted everything in here to be local, and I went through and I set all my variables to be local. But I forgot about the list maybe, or maybe I forgot about this list, and it's still global, and I'm not sure why I'm getting like errors. So I can come into here, and I can, just click local or global or whatever, and we're gonna ensure that everything inside of there is one or the other. So it's kind of one that doesn't look as important, but it's just as important as the rest of the modules, which is why it actually has its own tab. So one more time, I'm going to go over the keyboard shortcuts because they're not listed anywhere currently. If you hit Control E, it brings up the search. You can just type, hit enter, and it will search Google by default. But you can also choose Ubot Wiki. You can also hit Control O, and it will open up a new file, and those will work, anywhere on the program. So this has been Uscripter, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the forum or email me at sales@iamautobots.com. Thanks.